Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Anna Rosenberg, and today we'll be talking about a really paradoxical topic, happiness. What I call the paradox of happiness goes like this. It makes sense that we live this life on this planet to be fulfilled and happy, which would make happiness the ultimate goal for us here. However, most people don't have a clear picture of what happiness looks like. Think about it. If we were talking about money, it would be easier, more tangible. We all have an idea of what money is. What we equate many times with being happy starts with making certain feelings disappear. Feelings of stress, anxiety, fear. The American Psychological Association's Stress in America online survey showed that 84% of the participants reported stress levels equal to or higher than those in the previous year. Yet only 35% report managing their stress levels well. That leaves 65% of the participants with increasing levels of stress. The sad winner seems to be anxiety. According to the New York Times, over the past 8 years, Google search rates for anxiety have more than doubled. They are higher this year than they have been in any year since Google started tracking their searches in 2004. So far, this year has been tops for searches for driving anxiety, travel anxiety, separation anxiety, anxiety at work, anxiety at school, and anxiety at home. Americans have also become increasingly terrified of the morning. Searches for anxiety in the morning have risen threefold over the past decade. But this is nothing compared with the fear of night. Searches for anxiety at night have risen ninefold. Are you starting to feel it? The media is already talking about a new form of stress and anxiety, the election stress and anxiety syndromes. The good news is that to talk about how to overcome stress and anxiety, and most importantly, how to live a happy life, we invited Jennie Lee. Jennie is the author of True Yoga, Practicing with the Yoga Sutras for Happiness and Spiritual Fulfillment. Jennie is also a yoga therapist who has shared the healing benefits of classical yoga and meditation with hundreds of clients over the past 17 years. By using the formula she writes about in True Yoga, she has helped people conquer paralyzing anxiety, depression, grief, stress, attention issues, addictive behaviors, and challenging relationship dynamics. An expert in the field of yoga therapy, she coaches a wide demographic of clients from celebrities to CEOs, doctors, writers, psychologists, lawyers, educators, military personnel, and more. Even better news! One of the best things about our conversation today is that we don't need to be physically practicing yoga to benefit from its wisdom. So no worries there, just happiness and fulfillment for today. Welcome to the show, Jennie.
Thank you. Happy to be here, even with a hoarse voice this morning.
We are happy to have you here too, with your voice and all. People are stressed out and anxious these days for a number of reasons. Your book, True Yoga, offers ancient, time-tested approaches to changing how we live so that we no longer have to feel this way. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, you're absolutely right. And I was actually surprised by the statistics that you offered about the Google searches. That's really amazing that that they're tracking the levels of stress and anxiety and the searching around that, because I'm seeing it in my private practice. Most every client I'm seeing right now is struggling with stress and anxiety on some level. And it is absolutely just a universal problem. And whether it's related to our jobs or our family lives or the election or whatever is going on, stress is really at an all-time high. And I have, been in the world of yoga for many, many years. But when I see clients, they come in from all different walks of life, and many of them have not had a physical yoga practice, and they really don't need to have one to benefit from what the yoga teachings have to say about how to manage stress. So, I mean, I'm so really grateful to have this conversation with you today, and I'd love to share a little bit about what the yoga teachings have to say about how we can manage that. And these teachings are ancient. They're thousands of years old. So these are techniques that we can use on a daily basis to bring ourselves back into balance and peace within our own beings, regardless of what's happening on the outside. Because as we all well know, there's no way that we can control what's happening around us. We can't control the election. We can't control what our neighbors are doing or what the person on the road next to us is doing. But we can manage how we react and respond to all of that. And so the Yoga Sutras, which I know we're going to talk a little bit more about exactly what those are later, but very briefly right now, just to give a context for where I'm getting this source of material. The Yoga Sutras are a compilation of teachings that were put together over 2,500 years ago, credited to a man named Patanjali. And they're short teachings that give us wisdom around how to approach all these daily circumstances that arise, and direction as to what we can bring to these stressful situations.
Okay, why don't you give us a little tip to get started with stress and anxiety?
Okay. Well, I would say the number one thing to do when you feel that your stress level is rising is to recognize that you've left the moment at hand. So usually stress is related to letting our minds go out into that big picture of overwhelm. It's, I call it, just moving out of the moment. We tend to allow the mind to run away like a train just running off the tracks, with all the worries. And as they compound one after another, it all becomes too much and we go into overwhelm and stress. And that's when people start to feel sensations like heart palpitations or rise in blood pressure and, headaches, and they really get overwhelmed by life. And so the best thing that we can do when we start to feel that happening, we start to notice our mind going from one worry to the next, is to catch ourselves and stop. Literally just tell ourselves, stop, pause, push the pause button, come back to this moment and take a deep breath. And that sounds so simple, but really in the moment that your stress levels are rising, it's not that simple to do. So it takes mindfulness to catch yourself and to stop the thinking process, to tell yourself, nope, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to worry right now. I'm just going to breathe. Let me be here now in this moment in my body, right where I'm sitting or standing, and let me focus on my breath. And from the standpoint of the yoga teachings, this is called prana yama, and it's energy control. So we are in charge of what we do with our energy physically and mentally, and we have to take charge. So although we can't take charge of maybe what's happening around us, we can take charge of what's happening within us. And this is the starting point for that.
I love that it's so simple. Not easy, as you said. It's not easy at that moment to stop. But it's something so simple that we can all do if we can breathe. And if we cannot breathe, we're in trouble, I guess. But but I love that it's simple and it's something in our control to do. Thank you for that.
Oftentimes people overlook the simple. People tend to discount what is simple. And yet I find that it is actually most challenging to do the simple things. We live in a very complex time in a complex society where we're just barraged by information and stimuli and things we have to respond to and social media that we have to engage with. And, you know, we're all used to operating on this kind of complex multitasking level. And so when it comes to something simple like this, we tend to sort of discount it or think that's not going to work or, you know, how, I don't know. I've just seen it a lot of times that people hear me say something like that and then they just don't actually apply it. And so it takes discipline, self-discipline to create that pause and come back to the breath again and again and to be with the emotional experience while it's happening, but not run off after it. It's kind of like being with a small child who is having a tantrum. And we all kind of have these tantrums in our own minds in different ways. And whether it comes from fear or whether it comes from anger or just general worry and stress, these emotional eruptions happen in our inner beings. And the best thing that we can do is to just be present with ourselves while it's happening, like we would be with a small child. We can't take it away immediately, but we can comfort them by just being present with them, putting our arm around them, breathing with them, being quiet with them. And this is what we have to do with ourselves. And then as we do that more and more, we create a stability within ourselves that enables us to then make better, clearer choices about how to respond outwardly to whatever the stressful situation might be.
I have heard you say that true yoga is a map to happiness. What is happiness to you and for you, and how does true yoga fit in the happiness picture?
Well, true yoga is not just the physical practice of yoga, and that's what has become very popular in the Western world. People see a lot of images of people doing the postures of yoga, and that is a wonderful practice for our bodies. But true yoga is this more complete picture of what the ancient yoga yogis gave us, which are these inner practices of choosing to be peaceful within ourselves, choosing to live a life of integrity and simplicity, and also practicing things like breath control and meditation so that we can create that inner stability to walk through life's challenges with grace and ease. All of that contributes to happiness because when we feel steady within our own being, steadiness is a word that the yogis use to qualify our level of health, actually. So it's not how much fat do we have, what our fat percentage is, but it's how steady are we within our own being? How balanced are we? That's a measure of health from the yoga standpoint. And I love that because it doesn't matter what your body looks like, what injuries or handicaps you might have. It doesn't matter. It's, can you be present with what life is giving you today from a standpoint of steadiness and balance? And when we can do that, we are happier because our innate self is actually joyful. And we've moved away from connection with that inner self because we've allowed our attention to just be dispersed by all the many stressors of life. And so it's this coming back to home within our own being that enables happiness because we reconnect to that innately joyful self that is within. And even if someone's depressed, I would say the same thing to them. The depression is like a cloud that's over it's covering over your innately joyful being. And it's that joyful being is still inside of you. We just need to clear the depression to see him or her again.
Some people fear that yoga is a physical practice, so they are afraid that they might not have the levels of fitness or experience required. Can you speak to that?
Sure. There are all different levels of physical yoga practice. So someone could be very overweight or be struggling with an injury of some kind, and there are many yoga classes that can be very therapeutic for them. They just need to be careful about what type of class they're going to. So there's really a wide range of what's available in terms of physical practice. But my book is definitely not about the physical practice. It's about all the many ways in which we manage ourselves and our lives through the yoga teachings that don't have to do with the physical body. So it's not about developing tight abs or a great physique. You can really be any age, any physical condition, and benefit from the teachings that I talk about in True Yoga, because they're absolutely practicable. I don't know if that's a word, but practicable by anyone, anywhere, anytime. And you don't have to have any background in yoga or any other philosophical traditions or any particular religious beliefs. It's really just a very simple philosophical approach to life.
In your book, you talk about the sutras. Can you tell us what they are and why they are important?
Well, the sutras, as I said, are short teachings about the various aspects of how to create balance and peace within our beings. They come from a compilation of different teachings that were prior, but there are several thousands of years old. And my book only covers a certain portion of the sutras. So it is not a complete text of these teachings. It focuses on what are called the 8 limbs, which are the 8 components to a true yoga practice. And I'd be happy to go into those more specifically. There are 10 what I call lifestyle practices. There is the physical practice. There's the energy control practice, which we spoke of a little bit earlier. There's meditation. And then, all of this is moving towards the realization of our inner being as being a spiritual and perfectly joyful being. And so many people have lost track of that. And so these sutras or these teachings are just directions back. It's like a map back to happiness.
Something we have heard before is that happiness begins within. Can you tell us what that really, really means?
Well, it means that if you think that anyone or anything in the outside world is going to make you happy, you are wrong. And I think that if anyone was to really consider this, they would see that what I'm saying is accurate, because we've all gone after those things that we believe will make us happy. The job promotion, the boyfriend or girlfriend, the beautiful new house, the vacation to the exotic location, whatever it is. We go from one desire to the next desire, and as we get them fulfilled, we're happy for a little while, but it doesn't last. And then we're on to the next thing or on to the next person, sadly. And we have to recognize that no lasting happiness exists outside of us. The only way that we will be enduringly content is if we discover our joy within our own beings. And as I've said several times, that is our natural state of being. Whether you have ever experienced that in your life up until this point or not, all of the wise ones of all different spiritual paths and religions say the same thing, that we are love, we are joy. This is our innate essence. And it's what we're here to rediscover. And we run around looking for it on the outside all day long, every day. We go from, the first desire in the morning when we get up, oh, I want my coffee, and then I want this breakfast, and I want a smooth drive to work, and I want no conflicts with my colleagues, and I want this and I want that. And if everything goes okay, we say we've had a pretty happy day. And if it doesn't, we say we have an unhappy day. But really, if we were to not look to anything on the outside to give us contentment or happiness, we could have a happy day every day, because we could just really anchor ourselves into this joy that lives within us and move through whatever is happening on the outside from that point. And then, yeah, we're going to have frustrations. I'm not going to say we're just going to be floating along in a little bubble, but we will deal with those frustrations with a much lighter heart.
You say in your book that integrity plays a role in creating personal power. How does that work?
Well, this is an interesting teaching, because we in the modern world often will not be in total truth, because we are manipulating something or someone in order to get our way. So there's sort of this belief system that the power comes from the ability to manipulate, really, people or situations. And so often that is non-truthfulness. But the Yoga Sutras say that when we are established in truthfulness, our thoughts and words manifest effortlessly. And this is one of those spiritual laws that when we start to practice it, we really see its accuracy. And it's difficult sometimes to be completely truthful, because it might mean that we have to deliver some information that someone else might not like, or they might not like us because of it. But as we practice it more and more, we start to clear out the relationships and situations that are not aligned with integrity. And then what we have is a life that is. And that is really beautiful and incredible. And I remember the time in my life when I realized that I no longer wanted to live according to what I thought anyone else believed I should live. And so I'd always kind of hedged my bets and done things a little bit differently, trying to figure out what other people wanted. And there was this amazing power that came into me when I decided, no, I'm going to live according to my truth. I'm just going to live completely in my integrity. I'm going to speak my truth, and I'm going to live a completely transparent life with nothing to hide from anyone. And that is freedom. And it is powerful. And so it's, like I said, this is one of those spiritual laws that you just have to kind of move into and start practicing in order to experience it. But it's quite amazing.
I also found in your book something I was, if you wish, surprised to find. Can you talk about how giving initiates the law of prosperity? I was not thinking that you would be talking about prosperity in a yoga book, so I was pleasantly surprised to see that.
Sure. Well, this is why these teachings are really timeless, Anna, because the yogis didn't, like I said, they didn't just talk about standing on your head or twisting your body into pretzel positions. That is not what they were doing. They were looking at the spiritual laws that take us to higher awareness and the ability to be in balance now in this moment. So whether we're seeking that, final esoteric word of enlightenment or not, we all want to feel good today. And these spiritual laws that they talk about in the sutras are the things that get us to the place of happiness and balance right now. And so this that you just mentioned, that generosity initiates abundance, this is one of those spiritual laws, like truthfulness initiates personal power. Same thing, you have to really experience it. But the more that we give, And giving not just from a monetary standpoint, but we can give our time, we can give our attention, we can give our affection, our goodwill. There's many things that we can do besides giving monetarily if we don't have those resources. But any way in which we give out to others will be returned in multiple ways back to us. It is just simply one of those laws of the universe that the more we give, the more we receive. And the more we're able to receive, the more we're able to give. And it's circular. It's a circular pattern that is created. And we have to initiate the start of it.
What about gratitude and abundance?
Same thing. It's easy when we're feeling a lack of some kind in our life to focus on that. And obviously this is a big stress for a lot of people. And I've certainly had plenty of it in my life. I've experienced a lot of financial lack at times. And I know the stress that can come from that. But when we apply gratitude in the very moment that we're feeling lack, it's like a mental shift. We just turn our minds in a 360-degree rotation from looking at what is missing to looking at what we do have. And I'll tell you that even in the worst financial lack times of my life, I could still, if I had the discipline to practice this, I could still turn my mind and find 100 things or more that I could be grateful for. The simplest things, my son's smile, the beautiful sun ray coming down on my balcony, the kind, how is your morning going from the lady at the coffee counter, whatever, the simple things. But as we turn our attention to those things and we focus on them, we begin this spiritual law, this universal law of abundance moving into play. And so the more we're grateful for, the more we experience goodness. And when it comes to finances, this is an interesting one because I've really been working on this one personally for a very long time. And I have really tried to be grateful for the financial things that I do have or can do, even if they're small. And I've noticed that the more I do that, the more financial flow comes back. And so it's a process. It's something that we have to do every day. The yoga teachings are very big on mental discipline. To me, yoga is far more of a mental practice than it is a physical practice. And it's in all these ways that we've talked about today, practicing truthfulness, practicing simplicity, practicing generosity, practicing gratitude. These are the true yoga teachings. And these are the things that are, although they are simple, they are difficult to remember when we're in stressful situations, but they are the very thing that will get us out of the stress and anxiety.
The depth and the simplicity at the same time is what attracted me so much to your book, and also the title, True Yoga, and this shift that is not only about the pose and the leg and the arm and the I don't know what, but it's more of a mental shift that we can all choose to make right this minute. Then we have the choice of, well, now I can choose to look for what I'm grateful for instead of what is missing, or whatever it is, a shift we decide to make. I know we talked a little bit about the topics covered in your book, True Yoga, practicing with the Yoga Sutras for happiness and spiritual fulfillment. I highly recommend everybody to read it. What led you to write it, and what would you like the readers to come away with when reading this book?
Well, I wrote the book because when I found these teachings, I felt like I had found this amazing guide to how to navigate the challenges in my life. And I've had plenty of challenges in my life. I've had a lot of loss and death and, as I said, financial struggles. And I was a single mom for many years. And there's, everybody has their different set of challenges. But I just know from personal experience that this guide has simple tools that everyone can use regardless of what their challenges are. And so when I wrote the book, I wrote it in a way that gives an overview of each kind of teaching and then ways in which to apply it. So I offer daily exercises and questions to reflect upon, to get people thinking about how they can really utilize these principles in their lives. So it's not just enough to hear how I've used it, but I really wanted to prompt people to take the material in and go, yeah, oh, in that situation, I could have used that technique, or I could have applied that principle. Let me remember that next time. And so I want people to walk away with feeling like they have tools to use. And the reflections that I've gotten so far is that people do feel that. Readers who don't have any background in yoga have told me that they feel like it's a very tangible guide to how to navigate life's difficulties, and that they've found very specific things that they can apply in certain situations in their lives, whether they're dealing with parenting challenges or relationship challenges, health challenges. There's something for everyone to key into. And you definitely don't have to care about ever having a physical yoga practice. Most of my clients do maybe a minimal amount of stretching or a few postures. If it's something that's going to help them relieve some tension in their bodies, it's very helpful. But whether or not you want to use yoga for that sort of stress relief, it's physical yoga for that, is up to you. The book is not about that, and it's definitely geared more towards how people can find the inner resources to create that peaceful mind during their daily lives.
And that is a simple, wonderful proposition. Like, who wouldn't want that? Finding the inner resources to create or to rediscover that stability, steadiness that you were talking about at the beginning of the interview. And that also shows why you are so successful with what you do. So how can we find out more about Jennie Lee and also get a copy of True Yoga, Practicing with the Yoga Sutras for Happiness and Spiritual Fulfillment?
Well, I'd love it if people would come to my website. My website is my name, Jennie Lee. So it's JennieLee, yogatherapy.com. So JennieLeeYogaTherapy.com. And the website has information about my private yoga therapy practice that I coach clients all over the world on Skype or by the phone. It has information about the book. You can order the book there. It has information about meditation and other workshops and yoga retreats that I offer in different places. So pretty much anything you would like to know about the offerings that I share with people, it would be there, JennieLeeYogaTherapy.com.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Jennie.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate the time, and it was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for your good questions.
And this is the perfect note to complete our interview today. Till next time, remember, your awesomeness is portable. You can take it with you anywhere.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.